Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargav again. Welcome to Tidbits on Business and Finance with me. Yesterday was a judgment day of sorts for Jet Airways, India's former largest airline. Its lending banks, who had agreed to pump in additional emergency funds by way of loans to the tune of 1500 crores, they promised to do that in the middle of February 2019. The banks yesterday refused to pump in any more money, and that means imminent closure of the airline. The airline's coffers are empty. It needs at least 1,000 crores in order to meet its urgent immediate operating costs, which include towards jet fuel, salaries, airport taxes and cess, and repairs and maintenance, not to forget the amounts that it needs to pay the lessors of the aircraft to prevent their seizure. Jet at one point of time used to have 119 aircraft. Today, the figure has come down to a mere 7. The rest of them have either been grounded or seized by the lessors for non-payment of lease rentals. It is flying at the moment only 7 aircraft. Its international operations have been suspended, and on the domestic front, it only has about 25 to 30 daily flights as against an earlier figure of hundreds of flights when it was in its full operations. Most of its aircraft have been grounded and just 7 are afloat, perhaps in order to meet the DGCA requirements, which require an airline company to have at least 5 planes flying in order to be eligible to have an airline company license. The worst affected in this are the over 20,000 employees of Jet Airways who have not been paid their salaries for a few months. Also affected badly are the jet passengers who now face cancellations of flight, delayed refunds of tickets, and in the alternate, payment of very steep prices for buying tickets on other airlines. Air fares have anyway shot up. The PMO is supposed to be monitoring the state of affairs, and yesterday the pilots even sought the intervention of Prime Minister Modi to sort out this national crisis. The reality is that the financial condition of Jet is precarious. It owes money not just to banks but also to vendors, to employees, to the airports, to the government for statutory dues, to the lessors, all around. There are just too many liabilities unpaid, and we also don't know how many are the liabilities not on the books. In fact, Jet has a legacy. Jet today has a legacy of financial mismanagement, violation of laws, money laundering allegations against it, siphoning of funds by the promoters, and finances under a question mark. The bankers are urgently seeking a new buyer, a new manager for the airline, and they are hopeful that by mid-June 2015, a new management for Jet Airways will be in place. A new buyer would have stepped in. Our question is, will the airline really survive till then if the banks are not willing to put in the funds that are needed to keep the airline running in the interim, which is at least 1,000 crores? For want of funds, the airline might just close down and there would be no need for inducting a new buyer. Back of the envelope calculations say that any new buyer will need to pump in at least 15,000 crores in order to revive the airline. And to us, that is a steep price for an airline with legacy issues, as we said, of financial mismanagement, etc., which would haunt any buyer. At the moment, according to us, this entire crisis is not just the creation of the management, the promoter of Jet Airways, Mr. Naresh Goyal, but also because of negligence and incompetence of bankers, as we would put it. The state of affairs has come to such a crisis also because the bankers did not intervene at the right time. To us, it is a surprise that an airline which has consistently been making losses, in fact in the last 12 years, Jet has made profit only in 2 years. Despite that, the bankers have taken a collective exposure of over 8,000 crores by way of loans to Jet Airways. And even recently, as recent as mid-February 2019, they have agreed to pump in another 1,500 crores and even said that by April, another 60 aircraft, at that time I think 25 were in the air, they said another 60 would be flying by April, and today it's just 7. There's an entire question mark on whether there will ever be the need, in fact, for a buyer for Jet Airways, because its closure to us looks imminent without any intervention of the likes of a PM or a PMO. To us, this entire saga raises questions on the very conduct of the banks. The first one is, what is the reason that they have taken such a huge exposure of over 8,000 crores to a loss-making airline? An airline that was making loss continuously quarter after quarter, year after year, and the banks yet let their exposure go to beyond 8,000 crores. Why was Jet given such a preferred, favored treatment by the bankers? The next question that we have is, why did the bankers let the conditions at Jet deteriorate and come to such a crisis level? Why were steps not taken much earlier when it was very clear that the airline was making losses and a change of management was imminent in order to ensure its survival? Why was action not taken in time, and why were conditions allowed to deteriorate and come to such a pass? The other question that we have is, the bankers have been saying that they are optimistic of getting a buyer. In fact, they are confident that by mid of June 2019, a new buyer, a new management would be in place for Jet. This entire optimism of the banker, according to us, is misplaced, looking at the state of affairs of Jet Airways, the state of the industry, and why would a new buyer come in with an investment of 15,000 crores, which would be far better put to any other alternate investment. So the optimism of the bankers in getting a new management to us looks to be a question mark. The other issue we have is, what is the reason that despite them claiming, the banks claiming that a new buyer will be in place by middle of June, what is it that they have developed such cold feet suddenly that they are not willing to put in this 1,500 crores of additional loans that they had promised somewhere in February, March itself? What is the reason that the bankers have now developed cold feet? We also would like to know, why did the bankers not take lessons from the Air India debacle, wherein the government tried to sell Air India and it got not a single bidder? Why did the banks not take lessons from this and realize that buyers may not be easy to come by for a beleaguered, troubled airline like this, with huge question marks over its financial management and violations of law? And last, it is very clear that Naresh Goyal too has put in a bid. This airline has been a victim of his mismanagement. Will the banks now give him an attractive haircut and enable him to come back to the very airline which has gone down because of his mismanagement? And if they do, that would be rewarding mismanagement of a borrower's company. An emergency meeting of the board of directors of Jet Airways has been scheduled for today. The primary agenda is survival, and survival is not possible unless money is put in for the operations of the airline, which nobody seems to be willing to do at the moment. This is Akhilesh Bhargav signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
HW News Network today is a year and a half old. Thanks to your support, thanks to your love, we've grown. We require your support a little more. What we request you to do is to download our free app. Our app is in Hindi, English and Marathi. We promise to update you with the latest news, views, analysis, interview. We also have a live TV going in that. If you download our app, we will get advertisers. And if we get advertisers, we'll get revenue. We get revenue, we can serve you better. So once again, please do support us. Please download our app. Namaskar.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, well, subscribe to our YouTube channel.